Hello, and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 172. What's your favorite scary movie, Sydney?
I
I
didn't
just,
think you were gonna do the voice.
I did it. It actually hurt just a little bit. I was actually tempted to just instead do Bane with a scream mask and be like, "Oh yes, welcome to Sutro Sidetalk." Oh. Which I guess that's more of like the Harley Quinn Bane,
Yeah, I was about
the
to say
Dark Knight
like you could
Rises
make
Bane.
that would make more sense for that. The guy, I love that show so much, and I
God
like
bless you, Harley Quinn.
the references they use like every character for is so funny. Like, yeah, the fact that Bane is like a mix of the '90s cartoon Bane like look, but he sounds like the Bane from Dark
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 Knight
Knight
Rises.
Returns, Rises,
Rises.
Rises.
Got your
And then yeah, like
movies
Catwoman
straight.
looks like Halle Berry Catwoman.
Yeah, no, for sure.
uh,
God. Obviously it is Halloween time, everybody. It's the day before. This is like Sunday night, so it's extra spooky and shit.
yeah. I got through
Uh
another Resident Evil game this year because of it.
Oh, you already finished 7 VR?
Yeah, I finished 7 in like a week, dude.
I
Like,
still haven't haven't started yet.
it kind of helps when you're playing in VR because it's like it's such a hassle to get that shit like adjusted and like just strapped to your face. So, like, basically, when I put that headset on, I'm just like I'm in the game, and I will literally go for like hours. And it's not the longest campaign. It was like I beat it in like just under 11 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm playing it for like a couple hours a week over like a couple hours a night throughout like a week. I was able to get through it.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I was going to, and then the time I thought I would do like put in for it ended up just being like, oh, it's 9 o'clock, time to watch One Piece.
Yeah,
And then like I've been trying only because I'm trying to do like a Master Kingsfall raid run for Extra Life. I'm like, oh, I need to be like pinnacle level already. So I'm trying to get a bunch of pinnacles done right now in Destiny. So that's also been delaying me a bit. I'm
mm,
honestly, I still plan on playing 7. I just think I'll probably play it right after. No, wait, God of War Ragnarok's coming out. I will play it after God of War Ragnarok. And
yeah.
then, yeah,
I
that's what.
actually took time off from work or have requested time off from work to just play God of War,
Yeah,
literally.
yeah, because I don't think I'll get to it in time. And we'll see. We'll see. It
I
depends.
just
If
don't want it to like end up be like if it's gonna be a 40-hour game and I end up playing it for like an hour or two a night, it's gonna take me like a month or two to get over. And I'd rather just like take a few days off and just like not I don't want to say get it over with, but just like actually get to experience
Yeah,
it.
you just get to. You don't have to worry about anything. You're just like
Yeah.
focused on it. Like, oh hell yeah, dude.
Plus I have like a shit ton of time saved up anyway. I might as well use it for something.
No, for sure. Um, yeah, this is Suture Side Talk though, obviously, and we talk what we've been watching, what we've been playing, and I hope that actually I'm really hoping the audio comes like through fine because this is
Sounds
technically kind of
okay to
like a
me. Like
cool.
it's
It's
not too bad
this
for
is like a
wearing like a
second
scream
filter.
mask.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if I'll wear this the whole time. We'll see how it goes. I might be like, oh fuck. Especially you guys didn't see before this. I was trying to drink water, and that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see
Makes
how
me
it
think of
goes.
the what was the skit show on Netflix? Like, I think you should leave.
We're
It's
all
like
trying
there's
to find the guy that did this.
oh no, it's like there's too much shit on me.
Oh,
It's just like cover a dude in too much like makeup and prosthetics and shit. And he's just like, I don't I need to get out of this shit. There's too much shit on me.
I don't think I watched season 2.
Dude, it's
I'm
so
thinking of the
funny.
Garfield house right now. Oh my god.
I don't remember that.
But there was it's a whole thing. I can't recall everything. I just remember there being a Garfield house.
The
But
show the show is so funny.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's hit or depending on which skit it
Yeah,
is. Some
like
are
not
really good, and then
every
some were just not good at all. It was like there was no middle ground. But
yeah.
anyway, yeah. So, uh, a few things before we do start. I will say at least this episode, the main two things we're talking about is the Midnight Club, the newest Mike Flanagan Netflix thing, which is I think a 10 episode series compared to the
Yeah.
previous couple,
It was 10
which were a little bit
episodes.
shorter, and also the Marvel special Werewolf by Night. Afterwards, also going to talk the Tear season 2, which was Infamy, the Japanese internment camp series or season that occurred, and then the Resident Evil Netflix
Yeah,
show.
you're gonna finally piss me off with that, apparently.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it brief, probably, honestly, just because I watched that and I'm like, there's nothing, there's no notes I can take on this. There's nothing I could put down.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything good about that show, and I'm like, I love the games for the most part. I mean, I don't like 6, but whatever. That's a different conversation.
Yeah, you should talk to Miles about that. He's a proponent of Sig, but it just it's a
Really?
whole yeah.
Okay,
He
that
has
would be
reasons. I
interesting.
forget why, but yeah. So there's that. If there's time, Mortal Kombat 11, Injustice 2, but we'll see. More focused on those, and then news is going to be just DC stuff pretty fast, just because it's not, this is a cut of steel, so we don't usually talk too much about it here. Speaking of the cut of steel, though, one of the announcements is that we're no longer looking for people to join us for the Gotham Knights episode because we are no longer covering Gotham Knights. The reason for that is that one of my friends that did get to play it early told me pretty much like, I know you love Batman. This game isn't worth it whatsoever. It's bad in every possible aspect, from story to characters, design, gameplay, everything. And I'm like, oh shit. So then I also, just to make sure, watched gameplay, saw some other reviews, not like mainstream reviews, but more like, big YouTubers and stuff. And
Yeah,
none of them had anything good to say about this. So I'm going to save my time and money and not touch that game. So
yeah, that's probably a
sorry.
good choice.
Yeah,
I haven't
WB
heard anything
Montreal has
negative
been
either.
working on this for 9 fucking years, and this is what comes
Yeah,
out. That's crazy. Their last game was Arkham Origins. That's insane.
there was nothing else in between?
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
Oh, that's sad.
because the whole
Ugh.
time everyone thought they were making the Suicide Squad game, considering Origins was the one that like Amanda
Yeah,
Waller's like,
I literally
Deathstroke, you're
keep
joining the
forgetting
Suicide
that
Squad.
Rocksteady is actually working on the Suicide Squad one.
Yeah, and that also does not have Deathstroke. So then it's even more confusing. Of like, what was the
Yeah,
point of Origins? I don't understand. Um, Yeah, so there's that. The other thing being Extra Life. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna take this off now. After
okay.
yeah, it's getting a little too hot, and I can feel myself like just not. It's not working. It works outside, and I'm sure at parties, but not like this. So, yeah, the other thing is Extra Life, and that is the gaming charity where someone's streaming, and I'll be doing that again this year. I've done it for I guess 2019, 2020, 21. So this will be the 4th year of doing it. The first 2 years, I think I did it with Microsoft, and then this last year, I did it representing us, Sutro Sidetalk, and this year again, I'll be doing it representing Sutro Sidetalk. So that's going to be this coming Saturday, November 5th. Most likely starting either 10 or 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm not sure which, probably 10 a.m. Pacific time, most likely, which Eastern time, that is 1 p.m. Just to give a heads up there. Uh, Everything I earn in that stream is going to charity. So you're not actually donating to the stream on Twitch itself necessarily. It's all going to be on my Extra Life page, which I will have links to in the show notes for this episode, whether it's on YouTube or any podcasting platform. It'll all be there. And most likely, I think I said what games I was going to play last week, but looking at it more further, I'm probably just going to be playing multiplayer games for this coming one. And it's going to be 3 games: Destiny 2, uh, The Hunt Showdown, and The Cycle Frontier. The reason for those being is I'm honestly just going to be doing a lot of the holiday stuff. So, Destiny 2 for sure, I'll be running multiple raids, Last Wish, and King's Fall. I'm not sure how many Last Wish ones I'm going to do, but for sure I'm going to try. It depends if I've been trying to grind pinnacles right now to get to level for it, but if I can, I'm going to do a Master King's Fall run, as well as 2 other runs more on normal. And then after that, do a Last Wish run. Each one will be specific to something, but I'll save the details for that. I don't want to bother everyone with that right now. But it'll be anywhere, like I said, from 4 to 6 raids. It'll be with my clan most likely, and that will probably be earlier in the day, like maybe 12 p.m. noon Pacific time is probably when that's going to happen. That's when I'm going to post for the first raid, and then from there we're going to just going to see how many we can knock out. Probably in those. I'd say it'll probably take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours at most. Depends actually. Really, Master King's Fall is going to be the one that decides that. Everything else will probably be a cakewalk, honestly.
4 to 6 hours
Otherwise,
for like all the raids.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Because honestly, Last Wish will take 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how fast we run each one. And King's Fall itself takes probably less than an hour.
Damn.
Yeah.
I really should like just do raids and shit with you on the weekend because I never get any of that shit done.
Dude, that's what clans are for. Like, if you have a good clan, it works just fine. And even if you don't know what to do, they take their time, they're patient, they'll teach you. I didn't do King's Fall like the first week, and then after I came out and was like, hey, I haven't done this yet. Anyone want to help me run through it? What's different? And I haven't played since like Destiny 1 for that specific raid, obviously. And it was easy to get explained and run through and everything else. So yeah, that's gonna be the main thing, starting at like noon Pacific time. And before that will probably be some warm-up stuff in Destiny. Afterwards, though, I'll probably be focusing on completing everything in Festival of the Lost, the Halloween Destiny event. After
I
that
really
is
need to start working on that. I haven't
yeah.
done anything.
After that is completed, I'll be switching to the Hunt Showdown and doing that Halloween quest line. I'll either be doing that solo or with some friends. We'll see if I can get some to drop in. But odds are, honestly, I think because it's a Saturday, a good amount of friends might hop on and help me out there. I'm not sure how long that will take, honestly, just because it's also a weird Halloween quest line that is a little grindy. And then after that, I'll probably be finishing off with the Cycle Frontier, and I'll just be progressing through the season pass for that. I'm kind of using all this as an excuse to get these things done, but it's pretty much just going to be that kind of thing. I doubt I'll finish the season pass for Cycle before the 24 hours is up. We'll see how it goes. If I do, though, I'll probably switch back to either the Hunt or Destiny, just to get more done. Unless like I'm feel kind of crazy and I'm like, let's just do some God of War or something. But odds are I'll probably just stick to PC for most of it. Destiny 2, I think I'll play on PS5. We'll see. But at least for Cycle and Hunt, that'll be on PC. Destiny, like I said, we'll see if it's gonna be PS5, PC. And then if we did have time, God of War, I'd be doing like a new game plus mode before the Ragnarok
Oh,
release.
the
And
first one.
yeah, just like a speed run
Yeah, I guess
on
if it's
PS5.
next weekend, it's like that the second one won't be out just yet.
Yeah. To follow me on Twitch, it's also in the show notes, like I said, but my username is GoGoComzilla, so you can find me there. Like I said, all proceeds are going to charity. It's going to be the children's hospitals that are getting it. For the one I'm representing, it's going to be the UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital here in the
Nice.
Bay Area of California. So yeah, I'm going to aim for like 300 maybe. We'll see how it goes. But that's at least my minimum goal, if not like 350. Because I think last year was 300. So I'm gonna try like go for 350. 350. But yeah. Start the
Loch Ness Monster.
goddamn Loch Ness Monster. I'm gonna be doing no 350.
I don't know why that's like
Monster
such
gonna
a.
kick your ass.
I don't know why that joke was like so funny. It's like so stupid, but like
Dude,
it
if you still
works
say
so
it
well.
now, just anytime anyone sees 350, if you know and you know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Uh,
I'm so glad I have my mask off to drink this water. Yep. So that's all the, I guess, like kind of housekeeping stuff I wanted to get done there. A lot of information, but that's going on. Oh, also before I forget, I'll say it now first again, because we'll repeat some of this stuff again at the end of the episode, but no episode next week, just because, well, most likely no episode next week. We'll see. Just because I'm doing Extra Life. I'll probably be finished around like Sunday, 10 to 12 a.m. p.m. depending on what's going on. If like I'm trying to finish something, I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'll just keep going until I finish this. Or maybe breaks or something take longer there or something like that. I'm not too sure. But if we have time, because I'll probably be asleep around noon and I'll wake up like randomly at night. I'm assuming probably like 8, 9, like anywhere from 7 to 9 p.m. is when I'll wake up. And that's usually when we record anyway, is a little bit after 9. If I have finished watching it, because I'm like halfway through right now, we will talk specifically about Rings of Power in a very short episode. Just Rings of Power, nothing else. So it'd be like probably 40 minutes or something like that at max. I'm not too sure. But that's a big maybe. I don't know if that's actually gonna happen. If not, the episode after that's just gonna be probably a Super Marvel one with like Black Panther and She-Hulk and stuff, but we'll see what happens for that. Otherwise, that is everything I think for the intro. You ready to hop into the news really fast?
Yeah.
All right, so we got big DC announcements. I know like last time we said I forget what his name was now. That was potentially going to be the, I guess, like Kevin Feige. It's like not even hard. It's hard to say what the title would be. Everyone just calls it the Kevin Feige job,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Basically the guy who's like
The
in
architect.
charge of making sure everything all fits together in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. And they found it in two people, which one is getting a lot more, I guess, coverage than the other. But pretty
So
much,
it's kind of just like, what?
yes, it was honestly, I never would have thought this would
Yeah.
have happened.
He's
But
done like
it's,
one movie for them. Well, one movie and a show.
yeah.
Both
But
very successful though.
it's James Gunn. James
Yeah.
Gunn is joining, and he's like one of the two primary people in charge because it's not just him. It is also what was his name? Let me find it fast. I already forgot his name. Damn it. Do you remember his name, James?
The other guy? No.
Damn it. Okay, 1 second. Peter Safran. So
Uh,
they're both doing it. Safran, I think, was a producer on like Aquaman and Shazam, and maybe a couple other movies, but specifically those two. Whereas James Gunn, of course, we know he directed The Suicide Squad. He created Peacemaker, the show, and he's also done Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, and the upcoming Christmas special coming out this, like, probably in 2 months, I think.
yeah.
And then
And
also Guardians of the
and
Galaxy
3?
3. Yeah,
Yeah.
he also did 3. And everything else he's done, like, let's really fast. He's also done Super. He's done Slither.
Both very
And
weird.
he also produced, like, he didn't direct, but he pretty much created, like, I think, like, what's the evil Superman called?
Oh, Brightburn?
Brightburn. Yeah, which I haven't, that's the only thing I haven't seen. I still have
Yeah.
to watch that, but everyone
I
that's
keep
watched
forgetting
it
about
said
it.
it's a good deconstruction of Superman, of like the antithesis and stuff. And yeah, so the only thing I think he's done that's bad was Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which a lot of people like, but I thought was honestly bad. I thought that was a bad
Really?
movie.
I
Yes.
I wouldn't say it was bad. I still enjoyed it, but I just like I had more of an emotional connection to the first one.
I
Like I like that the first one actually makes me feel shit at the end, whereas like the second one I'm just like that was kind of fun, I guess,
It
but
just got
felt
too
like a
much like laughs for the sake of laughs. And
yeah,
I
that
think
for
it's
sure. I'll give.
because how good the first one was put expectations up for the second one for me, to the fact that it didn't even get close to meeting him. Instead, it was
Yeah.
just like completely opposite, which is why I give it extra shit, because it was
Yeah, that's
extra
why I would
shit.
call it like disappointing and not necessarily just bad.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Um, but yeah, so anyway, that's all the stuff he's done. Like I said, Safran produced some stuff, and together these guys are going to be architects on this all. And I think James Gunn's on like a 4-year exclusive deal for now. I guess they want to see, it's like a short term, see how it
Interesting.
goes on development and everything else, and see if this is going to work out. If it does, I'm pretty sure it'll probably get extended, if anything, especially since after Guardians 3, he was finished with Marvel and Disney anyway. Like he was all done. And
Yeah.
with this, he already has Peacemaker season 2 in development, and there is rumor that he would be the one to direct a second Superman movie, but I'm not too sure. The
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, considering literally now seeing Brightburn, I could see why.
Oh, right. Yeah. I
Yeah, and
literally
I'm
just
like,
forgot
okay,
you
because
mentioned
the
that.
whole thing is, everyone's afraid, like, oh God, what would this guy do? But it's like, I think honestly, James Gunn is what would you say, a man with enough variety to cover different fields if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, you could see all these different types of films, and he has horror aspects, he has comedy aspects, he has more heartfelt stuff, but I think in the right direction, he could probably actually do a Superman movie. And the
Yeah.
whole thing being now that Henry Cavill is back as Superman, considering now he's finishing, I think they're filming or they're done filming season 3 of The Witcher, but he's done with that. Liam Hemsworth is replacing
Yeah.
him.
Which is an interesting choice.
Yeah, for season 4 onward. It's always weird, especially for main characters recast. Holy shit.
Yeah.
But uh otherwise, he's back as Superman, and the way they're talking about it, it's like, oh, he's gonna be there a lot. Like it sounds like his own movie, other people's movies, and especially considering if he's leaving The Witcher for this, probably like he's gonna be all over the place. He's gonna be the face of
Well, it'd be
DC
nice if we
movies.
got like more than just one Superman movie, and then the rest of his appearances are just cameos in other movies.
Oh no, dude, there's enough. Like, okay, Parasite, Livewire, fucking Metallo, Brainiac.
Yeah, I've
Uh
been saying for years that I so badly want to see a good Brainiac in a movie. Like he'd be
Oh
such a
wait, no, we
cool
already
villain
did
to
Lex
see.
Luthor. Yeah, so there's still a lot you can cover. Mongol, unless they use him for Green Lanterns. But
Dude, wouldn't it be funny if Lobo showed up?
yeah, dude, they could fuck it. Dude, James Gunn, Lobo, that's actually so easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much there that they can do. And that's enough to do like, hey, let's do Superman in Metropolis. Now let's do Superman in space. Let's do a spacefaring adventure Superman. They could do all of that with Henry Cavill now. And it's going to be interesting because, I mean, obviously, all this stuff with WB Discoveries sucked for all the recent news, like cancellations, things getting pulled off HBO Max. And at the same time, it's like, it sucks. It does. And I don't like that they're kind of heartless bean counters at the top to an extent. But I also get it, considering the fact that Discovery, when they merged with WB apparently is in like 3 billion in debt or something. They're in some
Yeah,
big ass
it's
debt.
way worse
So
than we thought.
they're trying to make it so there's no debt, and because of that, that's why they're doing all this stuff. And I get it. It sucks, but I get it. And now that they're going to have a cohesive, organized DC universe, which the way they're saying it, I think they're changing it. It's not going to be DCEU anymore. It's probably going to be DCU, which also is interesting. But uh yeah, I'm just curious to see how this goes, what direction it's going to take. If anything, all this news is now perfect time to get some move on the project of where are they all now, just to
Yeah.
say where it all has been. And because the whole thing is,
That
hey,
project just keeps getting more and more complicated because they keep changing shit up like every
they
few
keep changing
years.
shit up, but also I keep like, I mean, honestly, TikTok is the big thing that kind of threw me off there. Is like I've been focused on that, doing those clip editing, like editing all those clips,
Yeah.
and I've been behind on that as it is because I'm like doing other stuff. But yeah, that's been the big thing there. But either way, like I said before, like Black Adam and Harley Quinn, at least we're gonna get those episodes this year, most likely. So I'll get those in, and then we'll get the big DC thing, because I don't think we'll have another movie in between anytime soon, or another show really, before I can get this episode out. Like I think
For
I could do it.
DC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, when does Shazam come out? That's like the most. I think that's the next one.
It's like March or May. I
Yeah, and then
forget which
Aquaman's
month.
like May or something next year.
December.
Oh my
December
god,
20.
I
Because
forgot they delayed
it's
it
the
that
Flash is
far.
in between. It's Shazam 2, then the Flash, then Aquaman 2. Because
Oh my
they
god,
switched the spots, because I'm pretty sure the Flash will be like
in
it,
jail.
it no, I mean yes, but no. It's
I had to do it.
I mean, I meant uh the Ben Affleck Batman stuff will be explained in the Flash, and then
Right?
that Batman stuff will continue into Aquaman too, most likely.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Ben Affleck. So I mean, dude, if we actually get to, if we have Henry Cavill, if we can keep Ben Affleck, I will be so happy. I'll be like, dude, this is great. I know we don't like have the black suit for Superman and stuff, but actually, real fast, Henry Cavill picked that suit. Just saying, that was his own
Honestly,
choice.
I liked it. I like that
Yeah,
it
I'm
was
fine
like
with it.
actually colorful.
Yeah, so I get
Like
it.
it's
I get
definitely
it.
different than what we've seen before for like this string of movies, but like I liked it.
Yeah, but okay. That's pretty much all the DC stuff. Got a little carried away there. Let's get right into the Midnight Club. So this show,
Show's a bummer. It's
yeah,
great. I really liked it, but god damn, is it depressing.
it's short-lived the show, and it's yeah, it the show feels long for these kids in their short lives. It's so sad.
Like,
But yeah,
yeah, like it never occurred to me that, I mean, yeah, excuse me, like people die young, like all the time. Just shit happens, but it never occurred to me that it would be such a problem that there would be a need for places like youth hospices. And
yeah,
just like that concept was so depressing to me. That, like, I mean, at least these kids got to, like, go to a place to, like, live out the like, whatever's left of their life with other kids going through the same thing and, like, have at least some fun, sort of, but, like, fuck, that sucked.
yeah. I mean, there's always the Make-A-Wish when you see all the people dressed up as heroes or something.
Yeah,
You see them in a hospital with all these young kids, and you're just like, wait, so is the kid like not even? I'm legitimately like, is the kid gonna be okay? Is he just going through chemo, or are they is this it? And this is like incredibly
yeah,
sad, and this is
I
their
don't
last
know.
wish. Like that's always God, it's so sad. But
Yeah, like, I
um,
honestly, I never thought about how, like, there might be just, like, a certain point for some people in their cancer, like, regimen that you go through all the, treatments that you can do, and your doctor's, like, sees that there's no improvement no matter what they do, and it's just like, "There's literally nothing we could do for you. You are terminal at this point." Like,
yeah,
and just having to deal with that realization of, like, there is nothing you can do. You are going to die sooner rather than later is just, like, so depressing, and like, I can't even imagine having to go through that, like, especially that young. So, like, from the get-go, that show is just, like, such a depressing starting point, but I was trying to describe it to a coworker when I started. There's like, "It's really interesting. There's, like, supernatural shit going on, sort of, but it also takes place in the youth hospice, so all the kids are gonna die anyway, so, like, you can't, I guess, rely on anyone getting through the season." And then it's like, I liked how much that they subvert your expectations for what's going on throughout the whole show. Because like, the whole time, you're like, "It has to be something supernatural, there's so many clues to it," and then it ends up being like, "No, nothing is supernatural," and then at the very last minute, they're like, "Well, maybe there is something supernatural." So I was just so confused by that last bit, but I guess we'll get to that.
yeah. Um, I guess first off, I had to look this up because apparently a lot of the stories that the kids tell in this are based off of Chris Pike books, which I'm like, who the hell,
Interesting.
or Christopher Pike? And I'm like,
Huh.
who the hell is Christopher Pike? And Christopher Pike was an author, I guess, in the 80s and maybe the 90s. I think maybe just the 80s, but
Well, the show, I think, it took place in the 90s.
yeah, it took place in the 90s, and the whole thing was his books are the more, I guess, like young adult versions of Goosebumps. So it was like Goosebumps at a higher tier
Hmm.
back then. If it was like, oh, I like Goosebumps, but it doesn't feel not mature enough, but I guess like
It was definitely
yeah,
kid friendly. It wasn't,
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's
super
less kid.
scary.
Yeah, it's like a little bit more, I guess, teenage friendly. And he's like, yeah, these are the Christopher Pike books. Those are where apparently a lot of the stories were coming from. Was those books.
Interesting,
The show
because
itself
like,
has a lot of influence on that.
because I noticed all their stories kind of reflected on their own personal, like, fears and or, like, pasts.
Yeah.
So, and, like, that's one of the things that I liked about the show is, like, even with, like, such a depressing setting, like, the stories that all the kids were telling were just so interesting and different that, like, it felt like an anthology show within its own show. It
Well,
was
that's the
cool.
thing. It kept screwing with my head because I couldn't remember the name. I knew it was the Midnight, and then I would either think Club or more notably Society because of
Oh,
the Nickelodeon show Are You Afraid of the Dark? And the
yeah.
group in that one is the Midnight Society. And for those that don't know, back in the 90s, we had two shows that was full anthology. One was Goosebumps, based on the books. The other was Are You Afraid of the Dark? And Goosebumps was great. It did all its stuff. Like it was like, hey, we turned the books into these show episodes, and they're really fucking fun. And then they get like probably didn't age too well. I think there's some good JonTron videos of him being like, let's watch and see how these are now.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh geez. But the other being like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? It was Nickelodeon's own thing, so wasn't, I don't think, based on any books that I know of. I never really looked into it. It could be, who knows? But it's not Goosebumps. And the whole thing was these kids are meeting at like midnight and telling these stories in like a cool campfire area and stuff. And it's so eerie the way they do it. And it felt so good. It was like that whole aesthetic of like campfire stories. Oh my God. And at midnight, it's always that cool,
And then
like,
they have like a ritualistic chant when they start of like to those before, to those after, to those now, and
well, for
shit
this
like
show,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
yeah, I was
Oh,
still
you're
talking about
talking
Ready
about
for
the
the
other one.
Dark. Yeah, yeah. So then I see this and I'm like, oh my God, it's like the same thing a little bit. The stories, obviously, that they're telling are more heartfelt and have a true meaning behind them,
Yeah.
reflecting the character that's telling it, compared to like all the stuff actually happening is more of the horror. Like all the stuff in those stories they tell, there's nothing really scary at all. There's like
Yeah,
zero
I went
horror
in
in it.
expecting something like Hill House or um the vampire one,
Oh, Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass. And then I just got this like kinda just not even ghost story show, but just like kids telling ghost stories. Not even
Yeah.
all ghost stories, just like spooky stories.
I'll say the thing this one
Pass the
did,
time until they die.
yeah. And ironically enough, though, this show I think had more jump scares than both Midnight Society. I mean, God damn it, than both Midnight Mass, and there's too many midnights, man. Midnight Mass
Yeah.
and Hill House and Bly Manor. Like this one had more jump scares of like, hey, what's that thing in the hallway, or
Yeah,
like
they did
keeps coming out of
the
nowhere.
old lady, the ghost lady a few times.
Yeah, I think it was
I'm
more than a
so
few at a certain
hungry.
point. Yeah, and it was more. It wasn't the visuals themselves. It's something for the sound design world, which is the jump scare sounds of like the
Yeah,
of like each time. If
the musical
those,
sting.
yeah, and for this kind of thing, because sometimes you don't need that. You could have utter silence, as an example. Watch Hereditary, but you can have complete silence and still scare like stuff for people. It depends how it is, but there's ones that could do it standalone. There's audio that can do it standalone, and there's some that need both. This was in that case one that needed both, because even though it's like, oh no, creepy ghosts and stuff, it relied heavily on the sound effects of like jump scare time, of the sound audibly like freaking you out with the visual jumping out too.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was fine. Like at a certain point, it was really that initial jump. Once it was done, the thing itself had zero scare factor for me. I was like, okay, it jumps over. It's just the lady again. Okay. And they felt, you could feel like, compared to the other shows where Bly Manor and Hill House, like the house would try to kill you and be like, you're gonna be part of the house now. Or in Blind Manor, this woman would just walk and be like, I gotcha, and then break your neck or something. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh fuck. This one, they're just like, I'm hungry, fucking, I built this place, and they're just kind of there. I don't know why they're British. They'd always, it just happens. But uh they weren't really freaky, and they weren't threatening to the kids whatsoever. They were just there. And they were never explained, except for the fact that they're like the founders of the
Yeah, that
building.
annoyed the shit out of me. That like that last minute of the show where it's just like after having you finally come to the same acceptance that the characters have to come to, that like there is no changing your fate. You're going to die. These kids are going to die, and it's sad and it's unfair, but it's going to happen. And then like they have this last minute where it's just like, well, maybe all of that like Paragon shit was actually real, and like the ghosts are actually real people. They're not just hallucinations. So some of it is real. I
Oh
was
yeah,
just like,
they try to say that it's the meds that are making them see the
yeah,
ghosts and
which
stuff.
I loved that like out, I guess, of like that they had that ability to add ambiguity to shit, that like even all the supernatural shit that was happening like could in the end just be like hallucinations. And like
Yeah.
even the fact that Ilanka and I forget the other
Kevin?
kid's name. Yeah, Kevin were like sharing the same hallucinations. Like,
You see it
uh,
too? Oh fuck, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the black guy. What was his name?
Oh,
Spencer.
yeah.
He like he was like, oh, but you told him about the hallucinations you were having, so maybe he started having his hallucinations like based off of what you told him, and it's like that's believable. So like, there's plenty of
Described
ways
it
that
well
they,
enough that it looked exactly the same though.
yeah, and so like there's plenty of ways for them to get you to doubt everything, which is cool. And again, until the very end where they're like, doubt everything again
Yeah.
after having come to the realization that you can't change anything.
Well, that's the thing too. That one is like you said more ambiguous, but the one that isn't is the shadow, the dark evil, like the shadow. That
Yeah,
was, if you notice, the only ones that saw it were the ones that were basically going to die.
that was, dude, it was like the first time that Anya saw it in the bathroom, and it's just like you couldn't quite tell what was going on, and then it just like stands up and like the eyes are glowing, and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, and the whole thing it being that it's the shadow of death, and she's the first one to get it, and it's approaching her, and then she does eventually pass.
Yeah,
One other character gets it at the end, Amish or
yeah,
Amesh. He's going to be the next one to die, unfortunately, which is sad. But the fact that you get the inkling of like, oh man, he's next, that sucks, especially after like everything
dude,
you're hearing
he
too.
was like my favorite character too.
He was so upbeat when he could be, at least. And he
He was
because
a gamer nerd, so that
yeah.
guy I like related to him.
Did you so I guess what would be the next thing? Um did any of the stories really stand out to you above the others? Because we had two sets of stories. We had the story, like the actual stories they were telling, and then we had the two instances of I'm going to die, and I'm living in the world that we were telling because I'm on death's door, which is what happened with
Yeah,
Anya, and then almost with what was her name? Natsuki, because she was almost about to die and she didn't. She like survived.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's hard for me to say that there's any one story that stands out to me because they all are memorable in different ways, and like they're all really cool.
And each one reflects like a different thing of like, I mean, I guess the easiest one was Kevin's because it's like his mom kind of
Yeah,
pushing him his whole life made him tell that type of story a little bit more obviously over the top compared to what she actually did. But then like her brother
for
was
sure.
next and stuff, how
And
she was
just
doing it
like
to him.
even his like the thing where he felt so seemed to me so sad, like at the end when he's like, I'm finally ready to tell my story, because it felt like he wasn't just ready to tell the end of that story. He was like, I finally accepted that like this is the
The
end
end.
for me, like
Yeah.
it's gonna come sooner rather than later, so like might as well let you guys hear the last bit of my serial killer story.
Yeah. Which is sad.
Yeah, so
Um
like the serial killer thing was interesting, but like I did, and again, I don't know if it's just because I'm biased because Rahul Kohli was in it, but I did really like Amish's story where it's just like, for some reason, like a few people, that the few people that are left at the end of like humanity after like thermonuclear war are sent back in time by either aliens or angels or something to try to change things. And just having Rahul Kohli be like Amish's
Future self.
future self, and like trying to teach him through a video game that like the only way to win in thermonuclear war is to not play, and which is very true because like no one wins in that kind of fight.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. Like it would take an entire other podcast to explain the insanity that is the nuclear war.
Yeah, we don't need to do that.
But
Just go watch
uh
that game with I mean that movie with
play Metal Gear.
well, no, I was gonna yeah, no, I was gonna say War Games with
Oh yeah.
yeah, just
No,
watch
that's a
War
pretty good
Games.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So that one I really liked. I also like Spencer's story of just like the whole like he was an android the whole time, and it
oh, that
wasn't
was
that he
great.
was like recording the future through his VCR. It was just like his robot body touching the tapes was imparting some of his knowledge of the future. and just like, but also I was straight up like crying when Ilanka like was trying to finish her story and she couldn't, and then they all finished it together. So like I loved that.
That was
And
really
just
good.
like God, I was so like emotionally wiped out when I finished this show.
Damn.
Uh,
Yeah, it was, I think for me, it was probably the Natsuki near death's
that
door.
one was really interesting because the whole time I was just like, what is going on? This is so creepy and like interesting.
Yeah, I think that one was my favorite because it was the whole thing of like, who are you two? And it's like, oh, we're you, and you're like, oh shit. And it's
Yeah.
both sides for her. The one that's like, yo, live, and the other's like,
Do I stay or do I go?
yeah. And she ended up choosing, but I appreciated it because like all of these stories, they were able to incorporate people from previous Mike Flanagan works. Like you said, Rahul Kohli, who was in Blind Manor and Midnight Mass, was in Amish's story. But then you also had what's his name? Trying to find him. He's only in, oh, there you go. Henry Thomas. He plays Freedom Jack, who's in Natsuki's story. He's the guy in the car that keeps like, oh, I might have done something in the liquor store or something
Yeah.
like that. But if you guys don't remember, he's the father in Hill House. And yeah, that's
Oh.
him. And
Oh.
I think he's also in Bly Manor
Oh my
for
god,
some,
that's why I recognized him.
yeah, he's in Hill House, and I think he's also the uncle in Bly Manor, I'm pretty sure. But
Hmm.
uh I think he's in a, but he's also in uh Midnight Mass too. He's Ed Flynn in it. But he's does that. You also have other people, I think in the other stories, one guy in it was I forget his name now, but you have multiple people in it. You also have other cast members from those shows in this specifically, actually. Anara Simone, she was in Midnight Mass. She was the girl in the wheelchair that was able to walk. In
Right.
this one, she was the Christian girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
Uh,
Sandra.
I'm
And
glad at
then
least one of those kids might get to survive because it's not like she's cured. It's just that like
they
maybe the
said you get
treatments
to
weren't
live
working.
twice. They're like, you're
Yeah.
the practical survivor of Midnight Mass, and you're in the survivor in the Midnight Club.
And it's like, not that I have anything specifically against religion, but it's just like it is annoying to me that conveniently the one person that gets to maybe survive their cancer is the religious one.
Yeah,
Ugh.
you're just like, oh shit. The other
It's like,
one
no,
being
she's
the,
just gonna believe it harder now.
I know.
That's
uh
terrible.
Zach Gifford, though, he plays the orderly, I guess, that helps out Spencer a lot and takes
Yeah.
him like and stuff. He plays the orderly's name is Mark, but he's Riley in Midnight Mass, the one that sacrifices himself when he
Mm,
turns into a vampire.
right.
So everyone just keeps coming back, and I really appreciated that. One last two more,
Dude,
two
I
more.
love how it's I don't know why this annoys me, but is also like interesting. But I noticed when I finished Midnight Mass, no, sorry, Midnight Club, that it says on Netflix like part of the Flaniverse. And I was like, are
Yeah.
you fucking kidding me? But they're not even related, but
It's
except
because
for this
Netflix and
guy.
Flanagan, he keeps doing stuff. They have like a deal
I
where he
know.
keeps doing stuff for them, so that's why. But another one was Robert Longstreet. He played the janitor in this one, in those two episodes. One being like,
The guy who was like changing the sheets
yeah,
whenever someone died.
Natsuki talked to him first, and then
He was like the nicest guy to talk about death with.
yeah, yeah, he plays um the guy that runs Hill House, the one that's like the dude that helps out, but he's never there at night. He's like, we never come at night, but then like he takes his dying wife there, so she becomes part of the house, just
Yeah.
like their daughter did. He's in that. He's also at Midnight Mass. He was the drunk guy who ends up getting killed by the priest. He was the one
Oh
that shot the
yeah.
girl. Yeah, that's him. So he's all of it. And then one last one, Samantha Sloyan, who plays Shasta, aka what's
Yeah,
her
she
name?
looked familiar. What do I know?
Julia. She was in Midnight Mass. She was Bev Keen, the crazy
Oh, the
Christian lady,
bitch.
the fanatic. Yeah.
Ah. So
So
she's a crazy fanatic in both these things then.
yes, but this one at least she comes off nice before she betrays you. And the other one, you just outright know, like,
Dude,
you
she was
fucking
willing
suck.
to, like okay, I hate to say that I can kinda understand her thinking of, like, "Well, this girl's gonna die anyway, so why not kill her to, like, faster, I guess, put her out of her misery, and then I get to live." But
Yeah,
that's shitty.
yeah. So
It's just like there's something so creepy about how like as she's escaping out like out the elevator, she's like smiling the whole time.
yeah,
Like,
goes,
ah, I got away with it. Ah, what
"I
are you gonna
did it.
do?
Woo."
Ugh.
I think there's so many, I guess, layers to this show. Like, you
Yeah.
have the kids telling the stories. You have the stories themselves. You have the on death's door experiences. You have the ritual, the supernatural, we're, like, gonna do some crazy shit to stop death area.
Dude, I was like also crying, pretty much crying my eyes out for like when they were doing the ritual for Anya. And I was just like, yo, even if this doesn't work, like what a way to go to
Yeah,
just have so many people show you that they're literally willing to do like blood fucking sacrifice to try to save your life is just like at least you know people care about you like that.
yeah, and then she ends up more or less dying from it. Or not really dying from it, but she was gonna, I mean,
Well,
she
she
was
was
already,
dying anyway. She was
yeah,
literally like her body was going into sepsis, which is like usually one of the last things I think that happens before you die, like depending on how sick you are from cancer, because you're just your immune system just like fails.
yeah. But you can see, like, all these kids have each one had a dream, each one had plans to do stuff. Like, Alonka was like, "I'm literally incredibly smart, and I was gonna go" where was she gonna go? To
Oh, yeah, no, that was the one of the saddest things too, is like she was literally about to go to college. She was
yeah,
like I forget the name of
Stanford?
the
Was it Stanford, or was
uh
it she was gonna go to a big school because she was,
yeah.
like, the 2nd smartest kid.
Yeah, she
Uh,
wasn't like valedictorian, it was like one under, which I didn't even realize that there's a specific term for that, but
yeah.
yeah.
So, she was gonna do that. Kevin was an athlete, and I forget what the other ones were, but based on their stories, you could tell what they wanted to do. Like Amish probably wanted to be a game developer,
Yeah.
and the others, not as obvious, but or I mean, like, I guess Anya was more like ballet and all this other shit she was
Yeah,
dealing
until she
with.
lost a leg.
Yeah, and then she was kind of divided up and everything else, but uh, overall, like, I mean, I feel like there's not too much to say with each kid individually. Like, you can kind of get everything from them pretty fast. Like, there's nothing really to say if you've already watched it. Like, there's no further dissection necessary because I think they do such a good job of just giving it flat out that there's not much else, if that makes sense.
I don't know, I think it's interesting that, like, even from the get-go, you know all of these kids are terminally ill,
Yes.
so you don't want to get connected to any of them because you're like, "They're all gonna be gone anyway eventually." But they still over the course of even just, like, a few episodes, I got so invested in all of them that
Yeah.
I was just like, "I don't want any of them to die." So that's why I was so depressed at the end of the show, and it's like, there is no changing fate. They're just
Yeah.
dead.
Pretty much. Uh, I did think though the interesting ending of both, like, I mean, of Shasta being, what was it, Julieta? Was that her name?
Yeah, which I kinda saw that coming, like, a long
Yeah.
time ago just because like, they both had the red hair, but it's just like
But just of her betraying them, because the whole thing was like she conquered it the first time without having to do all that stuff. Like, it was just more mysterious than anything. And then she was like, "Oh crap, it's coming back," and was like, "Well, the only other thing I could think of is doing that blood sacrifice that
yeah.
her predecessor did, more or less." And I mean, obviously, I don't think it worked for her,
Well, it's
or it,
interesting because like,
or actually, it might
the
have, kind of.
caretaker lady, I keep forgetting her name,
Are you
she
talking about
Dr. Gloria or something?
Georgina?
Georgina. She, like
Heather Langenkamp, which Heather Langenkamp, I just really want to say really fast. She is the survivor from Nightmare on Elm Street. She was the girl from that.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
Huh.
that was I when I looked at her IMDb, I was like, "Oh shit, that's Nancy Thompson." Holy
Nah.
crap, who's in the first and third Nightmare on Elm Street. So that was a really big deal. I thought.
But yeah, she has a moment where she's talking to Alanka that like, people look for extreme ways to try to change their fate and try to save themselves, but like people like um the crazy lady, I forget her name. Not Bev Keen. She never accepted that like it wasn't magic that saved her. She just got lucky. And like that does happen. So again, it's just like don't believe in any of the supernatural stuff. Sometimes it just happens this way.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, it's just like again the showing that she at some point was connected to the Paragon Society, that like okay, well maybe then everything that she was saying was bullshit and maybe she was actually cured by magic and maybe it would have worked this time, but we'll never know because they didn't finish the ritual like this time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to
And
say. That's
the
why I'm
whole
like, I hope that there might be a season 2, but I kind of doubt it.
I mean, the whole thing too with Georgina was like when she takes off the wig and you're like, oh shit, she's also like she had to deal with all of it. But when you see the hourglass on the back, the only thing you could think of is she Athena? Is she the daughter of the
Yeah,
woman
that
that
was
did
the
all
other
the
thing I was
rituals in the
wondering.
first place? I think
Like,
that's what it was, which
cause,
is really interesting.
cause like the only thing we got from the mother or like the person who was like the head of the Paragon Society was that like I don't talk to my daughter anymore, basically.
Yeah.
But we don't. She doesn't say like where she went or anything. So yeah, maybe she does. Although it'd be weird if like she was in charge of like the hospice on like literally the same exact land and her mom just never knew. But I don't know. Well, that's she never said she doesn't know where she is. It's just like we don't talk.
Yeah. But I think that's really everything. I'll just say I think Samantha, who played Shasta, I think she does a really good job with her roles because
Yeah.
she made us hate her as Bev Keen. And in this one, like it's like that the way she talks, you feel there's something weird each time, and it's really good. It's really well done.
Well, like I love her speech when Ilanka is trying to say like, you probably think I'm crazy for coming out here because like supposedly there was like one girl who came to this place and then disappeared and was healed and then left and she survived. And uh again, I keep forgetting her name, the
Shasta.
Shasta. She's just like that's not crazy. And she goes into like a whole conversation about how like we used to believe in all these things in the old world and like now those things are called crazy and like the pharmaceutical like industry is telling us that like that's all crazy. Take our pills. That's the sane thing to do, which is like that's a whole other argument.
Yeah.
But like it was still just like interesting that like yeah, maybe the old perspectives aren't exactly wrong, they're just outdated, but they still might work.
Yeah,
Like
depending on
as
what it is.
yeah, no, it's an interesting concept, which is why like it gives you enough hope that like again, I totally understand Alanka being like I am on death's door. If I don't do something, I will die soon. So might as well try the old gods.
Otherwise, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
all of it. You ready for the next thing?
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night, the Marvel Disney Plus special. I'll just go right ahead and say this. In this whole, I guess, I mean, you'd call it phase 4, I call it the pandemic era of Marvel. But either way, this, besides Shang-Chi, I would say is probably the best that they've done this whole phase, or at least I would consider a high quality. Um,
Possibly. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it, and the fact that it's like not even an hour long is crazy. How much fun I had with it in such a short period of time.
yeah, I think ironically enough, I mean, like the pro of this coming out is like, oh my god, this is so much fun. This is great. The con of it is just you look at then everything else they've done, and I'm like, ah, I just needed this. I didn't need any of you other things.
Again, it's just nice that this thing was like not really connected to anything else.
It
Like
was
there's
easy. It was short. It was pulp.
yeah,
It was fun pulp. It was campy.
there's like background lore stuff that like it's kind of connected to, I guess. Like, dude, I lost my shit when Man Thing showed up because I was like, I cannot believe I didn't think that they would put Man Thing in anything like anytime soon or
Yeah.
ever, even because he's like such an obscure character. Like, he's basically Marvel's Swamp Thing, but
Also came after Swamp Thing in creation.
um,
Usually,
I guess
just
so.
just disclaimer, guys. If there's ever a character from DC and Marvel that feel very similar, I'll tell you right now, and this isn't choosing one over the other. I can almost guarantee you each time the Marvel one is probably a copy of the DC one.
Most of the
Each
time.
time. Even like look at Thanos. Thanos is a copy. But keep going.
The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is like Namor might have come out before
Aquaman. That
Aquaman,
might be like
but
the only one,
I don't
maybe.
know.
Yeah.
Nah, but like
Even though
at least like so Man Thing is basically Marvel's Swamp Thing, but not
not the
quite as
same.
interesting
He's not like
and
plant
also
powered,
not
like he's not the Avatar of the Green or anything like that.
well, he's somehow connected to something called the Nexus of All Things, which I don't know. I don't know how to explain that, but it's just somehow less interesting of a concept as the green. And it just seems like Swamp Thing is much more important in the DC more of the time than Man Thing ever is in DC in Marvel. Because he in all the Marvel comics I've read, which not it's not that many, but he's never really talked about. Like he's kind of his own side thing.
Namor was created 2 years before Aquaman.
Okay.
1939, Namor, Aquaman, 1941. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so there you go.
Eh.
Though they are very different. One talks to fish and one doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's just that they just both happen to be underwater heroes. That's it.
Yeah. And both kings of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess Aquaman kind of is a copy of Namor. They were just like, what if he had more clothes and talked to fish? And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Werewolf by Night though, it's 50 minutes long, and it's not big on plot. I mean, it has a plot, but I mean, it's not like in your face. It's not dialogue heavy. It's very much just action. And when I say action, there's like blood and gore and
Dude,
dismemberment, and it's
I
so much
love
fun.
I'm almost certain that's why they put it in black and white for the most part, is so that they could just have like gallons of blood.
Well, here's the thing too. Apparently, when they were creating it, they kept going farther and farther because they're like, no one's saying no. Let's just see how far we can go. Because why not? Like,
That's
if no one's
funny.
stopping us, let's just keep going. And that is the people that made this. I appreciate them so much because of this, because they were like, you know what, let's just see what we can do and have fun with this. And they did something that didn't feel crazy. It didn't feel like you had to watch other shit for it, which
Dude.
Shang-Chi, same thing. Why I said I loved it so much, because you don't have to do anything else. You could just watch these individual things and not give a shit about the rest of that fucking
Yeah.
thing that's crushing your everything in life of like, oh my god, you have to watch
I love how
35
somehow they
movies
made
and
it
like 80 shows and shit.
I love
So
how they somehow made it believable that the head hunter dude who like owned the amulet before he died, like one of his final wishes is like, yeah, turn me into an animatronic and have me tell people what to do for
they
this
turned him into
competition.
Zoltar. I loved it. It was
I
great.
was like, I was like watching it and I was like, what the fuck is going on right
Dude, that
now?
was so good. I was just like, what is happening? It's
Uh,
I was talking. Okay, so I was watching it, and I was in a Discord server when I was watching it, so I ended up streaming it for some friends, and we're watching it, and I talked to my friend. I'm like, yo, Kevin, when I die, turn me into that. It's just it'll be great. And he was the one that brought up like, oh, you could be like Zoltar. And I'll be like, yeah, dude, it'll be great. I'll give people bullshit fortunes and I'll just fuck with them the whole time. I'd love that. But yeah, that was ridiculous. They brought in Bloodstone. So here's the thing. There's a reason why I have a show dedicated to DC and not Marvel. Uh DC, I'm into the comics. I've watched the cartoons growing up. I've done so much stuff, the games, everything. Like I'm very much like into the world of DC, where even if it's an outlying one and I might not know too much, there's a chance I'll probably know enough, I guess you could say, depending on what it is. Whereas Marvel, it's not that I don't, it's like nothing against Marvel. It's just that I don't know it as well because I ended up with DC. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know who that is. I don't know too much about that specific thing. I might know them by name, but I'm not going to really like, it's not going to click. Like, let's say Man Thing. I
Yeah.
barely know anything about Man Thing, honestly. So when I'm watching it, I'm like, I know for a fact if I read more Marvel comics, I'd probably be even more excited to see Man Thing. And I knew what he was because he's always in backgrounds of other comics from Marvel and stuff, and they'll always put him in like horror stuff. But the Bloodstones are in Marvel too, in the magic area. I don't really know anything about it, but I know that's a
Yeah,
thing.
I
I've
don't
heard the
know too much
name
about them either.
in Marvel Comics before. So I was like, oh shit, it's Bloodstone. And then I'm like, anything further, I'm like, all right, I said the name. That's the extent of my knowledge. So there you go. But I do like that they're going into that area of magic that we're not really getting. Because I mean, you think magic, you're thinking Doctor Strange. And that's fine, but that's more like sorcery than like magical magician type stuff. Or like, I guess there's
Yeah,
sorcery and then there's like this supernatural, if that makes
these people
sense.
kind of like struck me more like Constantine, where they're just like side people that hunt down like mythical creatures and shit like that.
More like Blade. It's
Yeah,
like
that's probably
Blade
better.
because Blade specializes in vampires. These people just go for any monster. And they're
Yeah.
called death dealers, which I'm like, I've heard this name before. And I'm like trying to think, I'm like, what was it a Blade? Was in Blade I heard this? And I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was an Underworld, and it was the vampires in it
Uh,
were death dealers. And I'm like, what? What? All these fucking names.
I did
Uh
love like one of the hunters though. Did like she straight up looked like a fucking vampire.
oh, the David Bowie looking one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I right, that looked like David Bowie, right? I was like looking at her like you
Yeah, the
like
whole
really.
time I was expecting like to learn more about them because I wanted to know more about that one. They all died.
Yeah, that was Azrael, which uh I'm like, wait, why do they have Azrael? Okay. Which Azrael, for those who don't know, if that's actually a Marvel character, it's not as big as the DC one. Azrael is a very
Yeah.
big DC Christian knight character who has a lot of brainwashing and was Batman for a bit. But yeah, there was Azrael, there was Leorn, which was the dude that got his hand cut off or his arm cut off by Elena. Or
Dude, I
no,
loved
Elsa.
like yeah, she cut off his arm with the crossbow and then used his own hand to fire the crossbow into his neck.
Barrasso, who's the dude with the sword. And then you had Jovan, this big Scottish guy with the
Yeah.
axes. Those were really good. And then Verusa, who was I guess technically the stepmom, which was weird because the whole thing you're like, oh, okay, so there's Elsa Bloodstone and her father, but her mom's dead, and then she's like, or I think her mom's dead, but you have Verusa who's like, and he was a fine lover, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I see. Like, even if, for the storytelling, what I appreciated about this was it's very much like if you get it, you get it. Like you're able to figure out without them ever saying too much. Like, okay, Elsa left. She didn't like her dad, and she didn't like her stepmom. That was pretty much being whatever she was trying to do, and she was like, "I'll just go live with my real mom," but still wanted to like get what she was owed in the Bloodstone itself, and went through this whole hunt. And it's very simplistic. There's nothing like super. I think what I like about this is it's very simple, but it's not turn your brain off. It's not turn your brain
Yeah.
off of like, oh, it's super complicated. Like from what I haven't watched it still, but people tell me that's the case with Tenet, where
Yeah, I still need to get around to that one.
yeah, I still have to as well. I think, like I said, I was like, oh, it's a theatrical film. I watched it in theaters. I left theaters, and I'm like, well, I guess I can't ever watch it.
Nah, I didn't hear anything like particularly interesting about it.
Everyone I talked to said it was fun and it's
Mm,
enjoyable, but you have to turn off your brain. Don't think hard about it. And I
mm,
was like, fuck,
okay.
that sucks. What the hell what's wrong with you, Nolan? Like I thought you were good at this stuff. But for this, It's very simplistic, but you don't have to turn your brain off. You're just like, yo, just watch it and you'll have a good time. There's nothing complicated, and it's not just brain dead. There's things you could like notice if you just pay attention, but otherwise, like, you either pay attention and notice like little extra things like, oh, she had a bad relationship with her father, stepmother, and all this stuff, or you just go, I like the violence, and I do like the violence, so I got
Yeah.
both, and I was
Yeah,
very
like
happy with
the
it.
fight choreography was actually really good in this.
Yes. And there wasn't too much overall. It was like somewhat short. Because like you have the first fight with the dude with the little hand crossbow, and then you have not too like there's not really much else of a fight because Man Thing just kind of comes in, puts his hand on Jovan's head, and is like, "Get
Yeah.
incinerated, punk."
So I had to look that up to be like, what the fuck does Man Thing even do? And like apparently he can sense other people's emotions. And apparently when he senses fear, he tends to like sweat a chemical that like burns
Melts.
you.
Oh, okay, that's
So
what it was.
that's why like when he ran up at people that were like screaming at him, he just like touched them and they just like burned
Which
away.
is why he's a good horror-oriented character because it's fear.
Mhm.
He's
Yep.
like a he's like an acidic yellow lantern.
Kinda, and, like, dude, like, literally his origins are almost exactly like Swamp Thing too, except I think Swamp Thing got rewritten a bit when Alan Moore rewrote him, I think, but, like, I
I
might be
mean,
getting
Swamp Thing's very environmental at this point and very green and all
yeah,
this stuff. And actually, that's why I
like
like Swamp Thing because he is the environmental hero
so
of
Man
the
Thing is
comics.
literally, like, a dude who was a researcher or a scientist who was I think, again, he was trying to recreate the Captain America serum, and he like injected himself with it and got like into a car wreck where he got like thrown into a swamp and he just like became a swamp thing.
I feel like I could be wrong, but I think I saw it in a part of one comic, but I'm pretty sure there's now more than one Man Thing. Like they could have as many Man Things as they want, or at least like
Weird.
a small amount. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've seen multiple in like panels of some comics somewhere. So that could be a thing. And I'm pretty sure they were like the canon, not like, little Halloween specials or something. I'm not too sure. But that I think is a thing. Uh Otherwise you had Jack Russell, who is the werewolf. And I've never when it comes to Marvel, I've said it before, like the thing I'm into when it comes to the comics, I read all the X-Men comics or a good amount of them. That's my thing for Marvel. It's X-Men. If DC, let's say in this case, if DC ever died in terms of the comics, which actually could potentially happen considering they're 3 billion in debt and they're trying to like compact things and get rid of shit, there is a chance DC Comics could end. But if that ever happened, it's like what characters would ever go into uh, instead from Marvel? Because it's like I do love the X-Men, but I'd want a little bit extra that area that Batman and other characters covered. And I'm like, oh, that's easy. I'd go for the street characters from Marvel, like Daredevil, Punisher, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, and Blade are like the ones I always think of when I think of like the Marvel area that would interest me if it weren't for the fact that I already had enough characters to invest into. But the supernatural aspect of like werewolves and bloodstone and stuff have always intrigued me. That they can even do that, but also I'm like, when did they do these comics for like Werewolf by Night and everything else? Because it's supposed to be that then there is a werewolf that occurs in
Yeah,
the
I
comics. And
I
wasn't it
had to look it
actually a
up
comic
and
title itself?
Werewolf by Night was like a one shot I think they did like a long ass time ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Also I
bet
just
you
looked it
anything they're
up.
gonna bring it back.
I could see that. So I just looked it up and I don't know if like maybe the publishing order just happened to happen this way and like Swamp Thing might have been made first. I don't know. But apparently Man Thing and Swamp Thing came out in the same year. But Man Thing came out in May 1971 and Swamp Thing came out in July.
Really?
Yeah.
That is shot. I did not know that.
Yeah, I was like that I literally would have totally believed that Swamp Thing was the first cuz like again, so many more people know about
Shit.
Swamp Thing. No one knows who the fuck Man Thing is.
Yeah. I mean, Swamp Thing has two movies, but they're not good. But he has two movies. And then there's like the
Yeah, I'm still mad
issue of
that
Max show that got canceled.
That I was literally about to mention that. I'm so mad
I
that
still haven't
that's not
watched it
actually a
yet.
thing. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like saving it. I'm like, I'm gonna wait and then we'll talk about on Cut of Steel because we'll go behind the scenes of like
Yeah.
what happened. Because
Like
I won't. I do have insider info a little bit of what happened. So
Man Thing is such an obscure character for most people that I literally was telling a coworker after I watched this I guess short. It's because it's like it's a movie, but it's not like a full movie. Anyway, like after watching Werewolf by Night, I was telling a coworker about it, and I was like, "Yeah, they have this like a really cool like cameo appearance for a character that like I never expected to see in a Marvel thing because like it's so obscure, but it's like literally so obscure that I'm worried that most people will see that monster and just be like, "Oh, that's an interesting looking monster," and literally have like no fucking clue what that is actually an important thing."
oh wow,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe Man Thing is more important to Marvel than I actually think.
I mean, he gets miniseries, I think, and is in stuff every now and again because
Yeah.
he's like one of those. There's certain Marvel characters I feel like that they like to utilize. It's like Man Thing, Howard the Duck, and some other stuff where they don't really feel in line with everything, but when they can throw them in there, it's I guess like a good time.
Yeah.
But
I
Marvel
did also like the reference that it's like, well, what do I call this like monster thing?
Ted.
Call him Ted, because like that is actually apparently the name of the researcher that became Man Thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That I appreciate that because that does make it better. Where I'm like, they're trying to do like dumb humor, and it's like, no, it's
No,
the original
it's
guy. That's good.
actually like deep reference.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
did love
fucking
that,
good.
like when at the end when Man Thing comes out of nowhere and like takes out the aunt lady and just like starts walking towards like what's her
Elsa.
Bloodstone Elsa Bloodstone, and she's just like
No, he kind of
Ted.
looks. He shrugs. He's like, which way? Like, and she's like, he went that way.
Well, like the first time he shows up,
Oh, that
she's just
it
like
kills Jovan.
Ted.
He kills the
Oh wait, no,
Scottish
I guess that
guy.
was earlier.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how I got confused there. Okay.
and she's just like Ted. And he's just like huh. Oh,
Oh, hey. Yeah.
okay, hi.
And then she starts
Yeah.
explaining. That was good.
Yeah, I also like the twist that like the main character,
Russell?
Russell,
Or no,
like
Jack
his
Russell. Yeah, Jack.
I
His
love his
last
name
name's
is
Russell.
Jack Russell. It's so fucking funny. But like I love that he is like they set him up as like a hunter that's got like over 100 like kills under his like belt or whatever, but he might actually just be like helping monsters to like escape
I
or
think it
something.
depends. So
Maybe.
it sounds like he kills monsters as a werewolf that need to die, but he'll save the ones that needs like it's like
Oh,
he chooses kind of. So it's like
that would
if
be
it's one that seems
interesting.
like it has to go, he's like, all right, I'll be a werewolf and take care of it. Because that's the thing. What he says, he's like, all those kills was me, but it wasn't me. Like
Yeah.
he says like he did all that
I guess I
stuff.
missed that.
Yeah.
Like, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I also just like I love that they go with like practical werewolf thing. He literally like, just like looks like the wolf
That
man.
was such a good werewolf. I was
But then like
I appreciated that design so freaking much.
they also do shit like him like kind of hanging from the ceiling and just like looking all creepy and like the eyes glowing and then just showing how actually legitimately dangerous he is and like why he was so worried that like if I don't do all this like prep stuff, I might kill Elsa like without even thinking about it.
Well, that's the thing. He gave multiple things for he's like, let me sniff you and stuff, get your scent, because
Yeah, I
and
have to remember you.
yeah, and make eye contact. She's like, how many times has this worked? He's like, once.
Dude, I
Uh,
love that shot where he's like they're doing just like the silhouette of him transforming and she's just like having to stare directly at the
and it's
camera
she's scared as
the
all
whole
hell.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I dude the doing it in the shadow. All right, one that saved the money, but two,
Yeah.
which I'm completely fine with. I think
It's clever though.
I prefer them doing the shadows than actually doing a full transformation. I've seen transformations and they're awesome, but I love the shadows because of how extra pulpy it became. Because that's something you'd see in a
Yeah.
comic book panel of that kind of thing where it's like you see the shadow rising. That itself, like this special, I felt all the love and care put into this. It was like, let's just have a good time.
Like it
Let's have a
almost felt
good fucking
like a
Halloween time.
Universal monster movie.
Yeah. It it felt classical in the best ways possible. And it's like not even nostalgia hitting, it's just creativity,
Yeah.
the way they're pulling it off. And I do want to point out too, the director was Michael Giacchino, which you might not know him from directing because this is his first feature-length direction. He's only done 3 things, including this. He did a short film. He did an episode of a Star Trek short or something, and he did this. So these are the
Interesting.
3 things he's done because he's a composer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
if I recall correctly, I want to look this up really fast, but there's a film that recently came out this year that has a killer soundtrack. Yep. You know what it's called? It's called The Batman. He composed the Batman soundtrack, and he's done multiple other ones. He actually, his early start, he did Medal of Honor Frontline, and
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
a lot of composers. It looks like they start off in games and then eventually get into film, which is insane. But uh, yeah, he did the Batman music, and this is like his first directorial thing. And this dude is, I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's an American composer, but you can kind of tell by the name he's Italian. So it's really fun just hearing all the stuff he did. And let me double check really fast because I'm curious. I mean, we know he directed, but did he also did he do the music? Because he did. You know who else does that kind of thing? There's one other person I could think of that does that, and that's John Carpenter.
Yeah.
So that it's got that John Carpenter style a little bit, even though Carpenter, I think, also wrote his stuff, whereas Giacchino just directed. The writers for this team were actually Heather Quinn and Peter Cameron. And Heather Quinn, I believe, she wrote Hawkeye, and that's it. And then Peter Cameron he was a story editor on Carnival Row, but he also wrote Moon Knight. Okay.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I really appreciated this. I thought it was really well done. I think it comes in the opposite of what I've been saying recently, where certain Marvel shows I feel like should be longer, not CW length long, where I want to kill myself, but like
Yeah.
uh enough where there's room to just do everything you need to do. You feel like you've gotten everything done in it, and you don't feel like it's shortened. Like Miss Marvel is the biggest to suffer from it so far because there was a lot of stuff that they kind of rushed through, and it's a
Yeah.
character I
Not
really
enough
wanted to
time
see.
to
Yeah,
stew on everything.
a character that it's like, oh my god, this is literally current day Spider-Man, and you somehow screwed it up by not having enough episodes in it and then rushing through a bunch of stuff. But otherwise, like, you could feel the character herself being amazing and the culture use in it really good. But it's just, yeah, it suffered from length. Whereas
Do we
certain
need
other
to
things,
explain our villains' motivations? Nah, not at all.
the other thing being like, oh, hey, what about other shows being too long? And Werewolf by Night somehow is this perfect thing of like, not everything needs to be a series, but also certain things can, and this works as a special so
Yeah.
well. And I honestly would prefer more specials over more
I was
shows.
about to say that. Like, I love the idea of just every once in a while for just either a holiday or just because someone thinks of the cool project to do. Like, yeah, they just do one of these specials. It's like it doesn't even need to be an hour long. It's just like a fun little experience.
Yeah, because I mean, let's think, like, we've gotten so many things now from like this year and last year. WandaVision, Captain America, Winter Soldier, or
So many
Falcon,
things you
Winter
forget
Soldier.
about a bunch of them.
Yeah, Loki, and then Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and
I
that's
can't
on,
believe that was all this last year.
and that's on top of, I mean, that's 2021, 2022, on top of like all the Star Wars ones too, because they, even though they're different universes, they tend to kind of mesh together from the same type of formats.
I have been really liking Andor, though. I'll give you that.
I'm excited to watch it, honestly. I've been looking forward to it when I get to eventually watch it. But like all this stuff going nonstop, like I said before, it's tiring. And especially like Disney's treating it like, hey, we're the only streaming service you have, where it's like, yo, I have like 8 streaming services. This is killing me right now. Can you give me a break so I can get to these other ones, please?
We
Like,
also own Hulu. Watch Hulu.
yeah, and I'm just like, "Oh, I can't breathe." So, like I said, it turns like enjoying like literal entertainment into kind of like chores half the time sometimes.
Yeah.
But
It's
ha-
homework.
yeah, having especially because for us, because we do these for
Yeah.
the shows. I mean, that's kind of our own fault, but still, you get what I mean.
Yeah. We
And
choose this.
yeah, where's the special, like a special like this? And I see, we're getting another one with the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
I'm actually a
But
little bit more excited for that now.
yeah, it's if it's gonna also be like 45 minutes or something,
Yeah.
I completely good with that. Uh, so give us more specials. Give us small stuff like that. I'm not saying get rid of all these shows completely. I'm just saying like do one less show a year and instead replace that with like 2 specials or 1 special. Like it doesn't I get you guys want to cover the whole year, but stop it, please. Like do these cool little
Dude, do
things
a Captain
instead.
America 4th of July thing.
Oh my god, that'd be fun. Yeah, you could. Oh my god, yeah, you could do that. Holy shit, that's not a bad idea. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, Werewolf by Night. Like I think in terms of Disney Plus stuff, number one Marvel Disney Plus content so far easily. Uh, of Phase 4, number 2 only to Shang-Chi, and I would say it's probably in the upper echelon of Marvel MCU stuff overall, just because it's fun, it's pulpy, you don't need to watch anything else with it, and it's just enjoyable, and it's got black and white blood, which is fun.
Yeah.
And
I really
yeah,
appreciated that they were like, okay, so if blood's not like super gory realistic, we can get away with a lot of shit and just have blood fucking everywhere. Like I forget there was like a moment where someone got like a hand cut off or whatever, and then like I think Elsa like flipped them or whatever, and just blood just went fucking
yeah,
everywhere.
but that some of the camera was covered in blood. That was really
Yeah.
fun. That was also good. I'm like, this is great. Everything about this is great. Uh, that is Royal by Night. Next up is The Terror Season 2, aka The Terror Infamy. And this one I don't think will take as long. It's because I'm pretty sure, James, you talked about it here before.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
I don't remember liking it as much as the first season, but it was interesting.
I had a lot of appreciation with it just because, I mean, the way I think both of these seasons do a thing is let's give them a monster or some spirit or something to deal with. But the thing is practically invincible. Like each time you try to
Yeah.
take it down, it just keeps coming back, which is, horrifying in that kind of way. But with it being like, oh, this was a woman who was going to be like a bride who comes to America and then gets screwed over, loses her kids to adoption because she can't support them, dies via suicide, and then comes back as a spirit because she wasn't ready to move on. Uh, you know, turns into like a whole I'm gonna kill everyone that either wronged me or gets in the way of me getting my kids back in one form or another. And everything about it is I thought it was really well done because one, it manages to give you 2 types of horror. One being supernatural horror that doesn't exist to that type of extent in real life. The other being historical horror of, hey, remember when we did this fucked up thing and imprisoned a bunch of Japanese people during the war because they just look like the people we were fighting?
Yeah.
Like, it was
I did
like,
find that setting really interesting.
yeah. And I can't, I felt extra bad because it's like, hey, on top of being like screwed over by your country, there's also a fucking Japanese ghost trying to kill you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, it's not fair. That's fucked up. But it's really well done. Uh, I appreciated everything they did. I especially thought it was very interesting that they were able to get what's his name? Star Trek, oh my.
Oh,
Uh
George Takei.
George Takei to be in it because if people don't know, he was actually in an internment camp in World War II.
Yeah.
He was, he's a Japanese American, and he was in there, and they even show pictures in the credits of him there. I knew it before that. I actually think I had a neighbor too that lived on my block
Yeah,
when I
no,
was younger.
super props to him for actually even like being willing to live through that again in a
Yeah.
sense to do this show.
So, yeah, it was yeah, he did a great job in it, and I
Yeah.
was very happy he did not die either. I was like, "Oh, thank God," but he almost did. That was the crazy part, like, I think one of the like, I don't wanna get into every detail, but I just wanna specifically say, I think the 2 scenes that hit me, one was, like, it actually got me emotional, which the first season didn't, just because it was more just, like, horror, and it was really cool with the
Yeah.
aesthetic and everything else. This one had more emotional damage as well, and it actually did, like, get me to tear up, I would say, in one part, and actually cry in another part. But, the part that made me tear up was Takai, you're like, he's on a road and he sees a friend who's like an older old Japanese person. He's like, "Oh my god,
Oh, I
I haven't
forgot
seen you
about
since I've
that.
been in Japan." And he's like, "Yeah, man, I still live in Hiroshima." And he's
Like,
like,
just
"Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And
like,
I
yeah,
have
it's
my
just
whole
like the
family.
knowledge of like that must have been the exact moment the bombs were dropped.
And he's like, "My whole family, they're with me now." And you're like, "What?" And it's
And then
such
you
a
see his
cool
entire family
it's such a
line.
well done like camera pan. And it's yeah, it's his
It's
like
just it's
kids, his
such a good way
grandkids.
of doing like showing the impact of like what dropping those bombs did to
Yeah.
those cities. Like, and that's just like one family. And like to the how many family lines did we just like end
Yep.
in a blink of an eye
Mhm. And
twice?
it was, it's crazy because like, George Takei's character in it is like, "Am I dead too?" And he's like, maybe, I'm not too sure." And it was like a dream, and it's like maybe it was one of two things. One, it was a dream, but you knew it was real for him considering the fact that of like what just happened.
Yeah.
Or two, he almost did die but didn't. And it was like one of those things where, like an old person could die in their sleep and stuff. But he didn't die, and he wakes up and everything else, and everyone's out there celebrating. And they're like, "What the hell happened?" They're like, "We dropped the bombs," and you're just like, "Oh Jesus Christ!" And that was really well done. The other part being, uh, when what was his name? Chester, whose father Chester was the main character, the photographer, goes
Yeah.
through everything. His father, who is his adoptive father, like, you find out he's not his real father, and they go through a lot of stuff where Chester's like, "Stick up for yourself and be a man." And he's like, "You don't know what it's like to be a man, blah, blah. You're just a kid. Even if you're like about to have a baby and stuff, you're so young. You don't know what I've been through just to get this car that cost like took 40 he's like, "It took me 40 years to buy this car," or something. But the whole thing of like his father risking his life to and basically giving his life to stop Chester from getting taken the by his real mother, who is the evil spirit.
Yeah.
And I guess like Chester having the same type of dream with that George Takei has, where his father's on the boat and he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna do something I've never done before. I'm gonna go fish into the ocean and just keep going along the ocean and keep fishing and not come back to mainland. I think I'm done here just because I don't want to deal with all the real world stuff anymore of like what's happening in the world. And I just want to be on the ocean and fish." And he's like, "Do you want to come with me?" And Chester's like, I really want to, Dad, but I can't." And dude, that got me. So even talking about it now, I'm actually holding back a little bit. Um, that I think was so well done emotionally, especially like, I don't know if you depends on, I guess, like your own relationships with your father and all this other stuff, but it was just so freaking good.
Yeah.
And like, especially I think too, if your dad is like an immigrant or something, you kind of get a little bit of feeling there. But it reminded me of another movie. I think it's called like it's either The Departed or Departing. I can't remember because one is like some American action movie and another is a Japanese movie that is not action whatsoever. But that I think was the other big scene. Those two scenes are probably the best two scenes in this series, and they give off such emotional range that I just really appreciate, or I guess emotional depth. I just really appreciated it, and the history was really well done. The whole thing with the internment camps, it was horrifying. And no offense, James, but like going through the whole thing, I'm just like, man, these fucking white people. This whole, I was just like,
Nah,
God.
it's just like I think the reason why I liked the first season a little bit more was just like the tension of being
Oh,
stuck
dude. and
in
starvation, cold, all
yeah,
that stuff,
and just
survival.
like how are they gonna get it by without like tearing each other apart, let
Yeah.
alone there being like a weird soul-eating bear out there.
That's what I
Like
appreciated
definitely
about both though, like, they're different and
yeah,
it does the full anthology feeling. It's
for
honestly
sure.
like kind of what Halloween was supposed to be, back when, like, they did Halloween 1 and 2, and they're like, "Alright, Halloween 3 is completely different," and then it was like, "It flopped, go back to Michael Myers,
Yeah.
fuck the anthology."
No, I
But
definitely did appreciate though that like both seasons tackle very different mythologies. Like I thought that was really, really cool.
yeah, very much so. If you guys honestly haven't seen it yet, go watch The Terror season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They are probably in terms of, like, horror and just really, really good storytelling. They're very much up there. I would watch those. I would even say watch those over most of the Mike Flanagan stuff. They're very different, but these ones are just they're you're a lot more on edge watching these than you
Yeah.
are with those.
It's just
Um,
like yeah, not to say the Flanagan shows aren't as good, but just there's something about the Terror season 1 and season 2 that just like it literally feels like a higher quality of show.
yes, it's weird because AMC. I mean, honestly, all the shows from AMC are high quality. The issue is some just don't know when to die because they're literally
Yeah.
undead. You know which show I'm talking about, literally.
Yeah.
Or I guess 5 shows now, whatever the fuck Walking Dead shows there are, but, I mean, AMC and FX,
Daryl goes to Paris.
you usually can't go wrong with almost any show from AMC and FX because AMC put out frickin' The Tear, which honestly felt like it was from FX, but it put
Yeah,
out
and
The
I think they
Tear.
did Black Sails too.
Probably, I still have to watch that,
That
but
show's so good.
they also did, Walking Dead when it didn't suck, and which was season 1, and, um, what it was it?
Carl.
That was that one show about drugs, Bad Break or something,
Uh,
and then, I'm gonna rewatch it. I'm going to actually try to rewatch it, because they only made it halfway through season 2 last time, so I'm gonna
I
attempt it
gotta get
again.
back to Better Call Saul. That show's so good too.
So, channel does really good stuff. I don't know what happened where that maybe they just only were planning on doing 2 seasons, but I honestly would love for them to do a 3rd season of The Terror and
Yeah.
just have it be whatever. Actually, I think there is another AMC horror one. I was gonna try to watch it in time for this Halloween, but, yeah, I mean, I got a lot done, but I think either probably next year, I'm gonna go for it. It's called Nosferatu, and I think I talked about it before, like, I wanted to watch it. It's not 1920s, it's like some other I don't know what it is, but it's, vampire stuff, so I do wanna check that out. But yeah, that was Terror season 2, good time. Last thing, really fast, like I said, short, Resident Evil Netflix show. Uh, don't watch it. Just don't watch it. I
Yeah,
watched it
like
so other people wouldn't
you
have to
told
watch
me
it.
not to watch it because you wanted to get my reactions live at like after describing this show. Cause I haven't even watched like I don't think I watched any YouTube reviews for it because I was just so disinterested that I don't even care. Like I just got the general gist that it's not good and it was like literally canceled after one season, which you gotta do something bad for Netflix to not give you at least one like 2 seasons.
You mean like Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm not watching I'm never gonna watch that one. Like I said, I had to either choose between that or Halo. If I did both, I probably wouldn't be alive today. But, yeah, the Resident Evil series, I'll say this. If you are a regular person watching this, you'll probably be like, "What the fuck is this? I don't know what's going on." If you're a Resident Evil fan, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck did they do? Like, how did this happen?" I'll put it one way. James, there's 3 Weskers in this. There is Bert, Al, and Albert.
Wait, okay,
4
I knew
Weskers,
that,
actually,
like,
sorry.
Albert and his daughters, but there's 3
4,
Albert
sorry.
Wesk
Yeah. So this,
what?
I don't know what happened, like what they did. Like it's supposed to be like this happens way later or
I'm
something. It's
so
like, oh,
confused.
Resident Evil stuff happens. So Albert Wesker, who is still all of them are Lance Reddick, is like, I'm Albert Wesker. I'm like the one from the game. And I'm like super fast and shit, like super cool. he's like, I'm gonna clone myself, and he makes 3 clones, and they're not like him whatsoever. Like they can fight to an extent, but they're not like, they can't do his fucking speed, they can't do his crazy demon shit or whatever. And so there's like Bert, I want to say, and Albert and Al, and I think Al just like they get invaded by Umbrella, and one of them dies, so it's just two, and one's like Albert, and the other is like Bert, and Bert's just like a guy who's like, oh, I'm, they each one is like a weird function that doesn't work. Like Bert is he doesn't really grasp like how things are supposed to be. So he's easily angered or just like very kind of immature. He's kind of childish, like he lacks like a maturity almost, even though he's the same age as all of
Okay.
them. But pretty much like they get forced to work for Umbrella. Umbrella has their own like town, like campus, I guess you could say, and it's supposed to be more or less like a company campus. It's like if you know how like log towns are like, oh, it's a town run by the company and everyone that pretty much
Yeah.
lives there works at the company in some form or another. It's like
Yeah.
that, but Silicon Valley style. And they pretty much are like, yeah, we're trying to give people a drug to make them like happy all the time and all this other stuff, or like stop suicide or something. I forget what it was, but pretty much it could turn into, it's like the T virus and people will turn and all this shit. And they have the dog kind of in it. There's two timelines, or not timelines, but there's two perspectives. There's like, oh, here's what's happening before the outbreak. And this is like the second outbreak. The first outbreak does happen. And I think it was actually Raccoon City or something. And they're like, yeah, all this shit happened. This town's gone. And Umbrella covered it up. We don't know what happened. And there is another setting where it's the future, and it's like, yeah, everything got fucked up, the world ended, and pretty much like it's just like survival towns, and the one daughter of Wesker pretty much lives on a ship with people, and she's trying to like figure out how to cure everything because she's like studying the behavior of zombies and whatnot. But uh it's super weird because Umbrella just feels like it's just a weird company. There's like a woman in charge who's just ignoring all the issues with it, and it's like, no, we could keep going. We're gonna keep this going until like we get it to the public, and we're gonna make all this profit. And the whole thing she going like, profit makes more, uh, will get me more votes than like from the board, like the Umbrella board.
Oh, okay.
Like she's
I
like,
mean, still,
the profit will outweigh the potential risk of outbreaks and death. And I'm sure by the time we get to it, though, you can fix it. You can like make sure it comes off seamlessly, so we don't have to worry about anything. And this whole time, like the one of the daughters is investigating what's going on. The other daughter got infected, but she's like, I guess because she has Wesker's blood, she's not necessarily turning, but she like goes through a bunch of shit, but then turns out okay, just stronger. And
hmm. That is kind of what happens to Wesker. Is just like for whatever reason, pretty much any of the viruses that show up throughout the series of the games, like if he infects himself with it, he just gets like mutated stronger,
mm.
essentially, instead of turning into a zombie like almost everyone does.
Otherwise, so like the past stuff just doesn't feel that interesting. You're just like, I don't care about these like what's going on in these girls' world and all this shit. It's just like, I'm sad and all this stuff's going on, and Umbrella is covering stuff up, and we're gonna solve it. And it just ends up like, oh, we're running away. Our dad gets killed because of some stuff, and or either I think, yeah, he still dies, but we're gonna flee when Umbrella kind of gets fucked up because all this stuff comes to a head and everything else. But then in the future, it's just like, oh, the sisters turned on each other, or one turned on the other. The one that got infected joined Umbrella and became the head of Umbrella secretly. And yeah, it's a whole thing where it's like the woman that's like the CEO and the flashback stuff.
Okay.
You think she's in charge, and she's like working for the daughter instead. Like the daughter took her over somehow and is like controlling her more or less.
That's really weird.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, what's the point of this? And they do things where it's like, oh, the T virus affected certain animals and stuff. So there's like a giant killer caterpillar, there's a giant gator, um, there's like a zombie that's like a zombie hive queen that's like controlling the other zombies with her screams or something. There are lickers, but they're only in like a tunnel scene, really. Uh, it's super weird. It okay, I'll put it this way. The pacing feels bad. The dialogue oftentimes doesn't feel right. Certain characters don't feel believable. Like there's some heavyset guy that's able to do all this crazy combat shit in the apocalypse time, and you're like, who the fuck is this dude? And he works for Umbrella, and he just like has a weird personality of like, oh hey, it's me, blah blah blah, and it doesn't make any sense to the point where like, oh, the main character breaks out him and these Umbrella guys because these crazy uh they worship the zombie fanatic people are gonna try to kill them. So she breaks them out, and it's like, cool, they can all work together to fight. Zombies immediately get out, kill all those Umbrella guys she just broke out, and it's just like, what was the point of this? I don't understand. It's just stupid. Um, if you watch it, you'll get angry because it doesn't feel like Resident Evil at all. I guess is what I'll say. I also, it's been a bit since I watched it, so I can't remember everything about it, especially because I'm not gonna lie, I've been trying to forget some of it too. But if you're a fan, like I said, of Resident Evil, you're not gonna like this. I would say honestly, you're gonna have a better time with those Mila Jovovich movies by far.
No.
Which I still stand by. Those are actually fun. This was at least wacky enough that I went through the whole thing, and I straight up had to wait for like the apocalypse stuff to happen to kind of be like, oh, it's like a little bit more bearable, but still stupid. But it's like stupid fun at least a little bit, like minorly. Whereas the flashback stuff, I'm like, fuck, get me through this. I'm so tired of it.
Damn.
Yeah, not fun. Don't watch it. There's no point in watching it. It's only one season and it was canceled, and they leave it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that makes it easier for me to avoid it because I like if they were continuing it, I'd maybe be like tempted, but the fact that they just like immediately canceled it, I'm just like not interested.
Yeah, no, it's not good. It's not even, I would say it's not respecting the Resident Evil lore or the world. And it's just funny that they keep trying all these different versions and none of them seem to work out when it's like, dude, can't you just try to adapt the original stuff? And, speaking of which, like, I still have to watch the movie they came out with, the remake. That remember they came out with that and we totally never watched it. Like it was a thing.
Oh yeah, Welcome to Raccoon City. No, that was a bad movie.
Yeah. You saw it?
No, I just heard about it.
Yeah, I heard it was shit.
It's just like
Because there were three
I,
things. There was this show on Netflix, there was that movie in theaters, and then there was an animated movie on Netflix that I still also haven't
I
seen.
heard that was okay.
Isn't that tied into the games? Or is it
Yeah,
just
is it
also
I think it's like covers part of the time that Leon Kennedy was actually like in the Secret Service before Resident Evil 4, but I'm
okay.
not 100% sure on that.
But
But
yeah.
yeah, for some reason for Welcome to Raccoon City, they decided to smash together Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, which makes no sense because the events for those games take place like months apart.
Isn't the two
When
that are simultaneous 2 and 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're gonna mash together 2 of those games, you could have easily done that, but for some
Yeah.
reason they didn't.
Because isn't it one isn't 2 has Claire Redfield and 3 has
Uh,
Chris Redfield. Each one has a Redfield, and then
yeah.
it's like
The third
Chris.
one was Jill Valentine.
Okay. I knew
Yeah.
because there's
Like, in the
Redfields.
first game, you can choose to play between Jill or Chris, and I think the trade-off is, like, Jill can she has, like
Which one is Leon in then?
Leon is in 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Jill and Ada are in 3? Which one is Ada
Yes.
in? Okay, yeah.
Ada kinda reoccurs throughout the series.
Which one is Mila Jovovich in?
I don't remember what her character is supposed to be,
Alice.
actually.
She was created for the movies. That's what I was
That makes
saying.
sense. Okay.
Remember, I said when we were talking about the Mortal Kombat movie, I was like, "Yo, if they're gonna do a made up character like they did in the Mortal Kombat movie," I said it shouldn't have been that guy. They should have just done Mila Jovovich because it makes anytime you're gonna make a makeup movie character for based on a video game, it should just always be Mila Jovovich because at least it'll be entertaining.
It's like basically her job to be
Yeah.
the fish out of water character.
I mean, pretty much, yeah, because it's also it works out because the guy that does those movies is her husband, who's usually the director. So
Yeah.
it just always is going to be the same thing over and over.
I
Which
should have
reminds me, I
watched
still have to watch Monster Hunter.
yeah, I should have watched that movie at some point. I
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, good times. I think that's everything. Did you have any other horror fun stuff to talk about?
nah, I think that's good enough for this
Okay,
time.
and
We're already at like an hour 45.
I'll get to Resident Evil Biohazard soon. Like I said, it's probably going to be after God of War Ragnarok, but I'm going to get to it and then we can talk about it. It'll be a fun time. Uh, Otherwise, yeah, this has been Sutro Side Talk. You can email us at sutrosidetalk@gmail.com to comment, give us feedback, or send us questions you want us to answer on the show. You can follow the show on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Sutro Side Talk, all one word. And you can follow James on Twitter at InvaderJim124. You could follow me on Twitter at GoGoComzilla. You can help us out by giving us a review, 5 stars, or rate it or like it when you are watching or listening to the show. And please subscribe on all platforms or whatever platform you are listening or watching. And if you can share it out to people, that would really help us out. That is probably the best thing you can do to help us out. And yeah, like I said, Extra Life this coming Saturday, November 5th, starting at 10 a.m. most likely Pacific time. If it's not that, it's 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to be doing, like I said, Destiny 2, Hunt Showdown, and the Cycle Frontier. And pretty much going to be going until like Sunday, 10 to 12 in the morning. And yeah, otherwise, if we can, Rings of Power episode that day, we'll try to record it. If not, the next episode will be in 2 weeks with probably She-Hulk and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, most likely. Which I actually got to talk to you about that for the tickets because we'll see.
Yeah.
And then up to it, down to it, we've been having so many issues scheduling for our Dragon Con episode. We were going to record it actually earlier today, but it didn't work out again. We're going to have it most likely in November, probably the second or third week, I think, because I'm already trying to get a date for sure that everyone can work on. Just because today was like a little last minute. And then yeah, Cut of Steel, like I said, Cut of Steel. If you guys know any DC YouTuber or podcaster or someone that has interest in that kind of stuff, and you think they are good for either the Black Adam movie or the Harley Quinn animated series, and you would think they'd be good on the show for that specific episode, let us know who they are, and I will contact them to see if I can get them on the show because I want 1 or 2 people on each of those that we haven't had on before. But we'll see what happens. With that said, happy Halloween, everybody, since this comes out on Halloween. Actually, wait. Yeah, probably will come out on Halloween of the day. Yeah, probably. I still have to edit this, but I'll do it tomorrow morning or something. We'll see. But that's everything. I'll catch you all later. So long.
Thanks for listening.